Welcome back to another final beta video on Lawbreakers. Yes, well, I might have overstated quite the finalness of the previous beta, but let's be clear, the game releases on August the 8th, so I'm pretty sure I'm right when I say this last one is the final beta. Well, I'm sort of 80% sure. This time there was no new big character to play. We've seen the latest edition, Harrier, in dev videos, but in this beta, I would guess, was more targeted at balancing, back-end systems and stability and that sort of stuff. Not that it was all things that we'd seen before, though. In fact, they had a limited 1-hour playtest of a new map called Trench. I wasn't able to make the narrow time window of the test, so big thanks to Blindrob for sending me this footage. He's a moderator on Lawbreakers, a streamer and YouTuber in his own right, so if you're noticing the aim suddenly looks better than you expected from me, then that'll be the reason, and links to Blindrob's channels in the description below. So with Trench we keep that industrial feel of the other maps, but this time it's a bit more worn and grimy than before. Where you may see buildings gleaming in the sun in a cloud-floored aerial landscape like the map Vertigo, we have something quite opposite here. Not only in tone, but also quite literally. The main pillars that make up the landscape of Trench are the supports that hold the buildings of Vertigo high above those clouds. Another new feature that we'd heard about before actually made it into this latest build of Lawbreakers. It seems they have some friends over at Nvidia. Not only was their game one of the titles included in their latest game-ready driver, but also Lawbreakers is the first title we've seen to make use of a new system from Nvidia that leverages ShadowPlay systems to allow the game itself to automatically make recordings through a system called ShadowPlay Highlights. All you had to do is have the latest version of GeForce Experience installed. When you started Lawbreakers, a pop-up asked you if you wanted it to save highlights, and that was it. The system is automated. From what I could tell, it seemed to be currently set to record kill streaks. I couldn't get it to auto-record when I was scoring goals in Blitzball, for example. But this is the first time we've seen highlights operating, and I'm imagining once the systems are in place, it'll be a relatively simple task to have options like record any kick kills or all kill streaks that I have. It's a useful feature that I'd imagine other games will want to emulate. This latest Lawbreakers build also saw the inclusion of launch-ready cosmetic items. You have multiple skins and models for every character in the game. There's some we've seen in previous betas, but this is the first time we've seen all of them. I'm not going to go through them all because that'd probably be a 30-minute video in itself, but suffice to say I was surprised at the variety of the offerings. A reminder that these are one when opening loot boxes that drop each time you level, though I'm guessing there will be a way to buy them directly with money at a later date should you feel that need. Looking at the game now, and I'm thinking back to the first betas where we had limited content, not only in terms of maps and characters, but game modes too. I'm sure anyone else who's been on that same journey with the game would agree that Lawbreakers has come a long way since those fledgling tests. Boss Key does indeed seem to take user feedback to heart, and we've seen a number of sizable balance changes mostly in line with how the player base has reacted. I'm not suggesting that the game is in a sort of perfect state. There are definitely things to improve and add. I'd hope that custom crosshairs, for example, is somewhere on that list, but the quality of what has been made belies the team's size. If I had to just have one main complaint, it would be as someone who generally plays support-style roles in games. The battle medic never really seemed to be fundamentally iterated on. The character we were introduced to is basically the same that it will be on launch, save a few balances and value adjustments, and even then they seem to be more focused around the healing potential of the character, rather than the actual experience of playing it. From my experience, the battle medic is simply closer to a traditional support role than you might have imagined from a game like Lawbreakers. The main job is healing. You aren't given the tools to be part of the main low-gravity fights that dictate much of the game. Your guns are a grenade launcher, yes, in a low-gravity zone, you can imagine how accurate that is, and a burst projectile pistol. There are no hit-scan weapons to take on, or even just defend from, the enforcers and gunslingers of the Lawbreakers world. What's more, the healing isn't particularly skill-based. You highlight a person, press E, and your job is done. And if you're thinking, I think I've heard this before, then I apologise. It's just feedback on core design choices for a character that haven't really changed at all during testing. My hopes are that the announced Harrier role might feel closer in design to the other characters in the game. The main weapon looks like a hit-scan beam, but the actual support side seems to be more deployable than the mobility that the Battle Medic currently affords the team. I'm hoping that the necessity of having a medic doesn't force people who enjoy support roles solely into the role of the Battle Medic class. But let's be clear, the game is good where it shines. The gunplay is frenetic, and most of the roles prioritise aiming above all other skills. There are no insta-win Q buttons here. If you've ever wanted the class-based shooter you're currently playing to place greater emphasis on aiming, then Lawbreakers might just be for you. This is a title standing on the shoulders of classic arena FPSs like Unreal Tournament and Quake, rather than it is a FPS variation of a traditional MOBA. And it's in that mold that we've seen some community tournaments spring up at every beta event so far. In fact, this last weekend we saw 2 tournaments, one with a $500 prize, which seems encouraging given the game doesn't launch for a few more days. What's more, the gameplay is actually watchable. It does arguably pivot around which game mode is being played, however. Modes like Turf War, where fights can be happening at 3 different places spread across the map, presents a tough job for the casters not to only identify what's going on play by play, but to also where should they position themselves to give their audience the best view of the action. Modes where there is a central objective to fight over seem to show the game at its intense and frenzied best. There's already some organised teams with regular rosters around now, so if you're a fan of tournament play, then there might just be a team out there looking for your undoubtedly razor-sharp aim and ability to tilt on command. So we wait with bated breath for Lawbreakers to release. If you're the impatient type, then you can pre-order and get some exclusive cosmetics thrown into the deal. I hope there's a decent marketing push for this game, as it certainly deserves its day in the sun. I also hope that Buskey will release some sort of plan or talk about their plans post-launch. We already know that there won't be DLC splitting maps and classes, creating a player base of haves and have-nots, but I think the current community and prospective buyers would like to know what the devs have planned for the future of the game. People do like spying things just over the horizon. I'm interested to know what you think of this final stage of the Lawbreakers Beta. Did you play it? And if so, what did you think? If you didn't, then why didn't you try it? I'd love to hear all your impressions in the comment section below. If you'd like to support the channel, then please consider tapping that thumb up and clicking that subscribe. It helps me grow the channel and do more videos like this one, so thank you very much for watching. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at LCTRGames. There's a link in the description below. Thank you very much again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.